What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back for another episode of Player Ratings. FA Cup version this time. We beat Morecambe 3-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where, you know, it looked like we were going out at one stage, but somehow, well, Spurs managed to claw it back and win right at the death. But let's get straight into it, and let's start off with Pierluigi Gallini in a rare start for him. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I mean, made some routine saves at the beginning of the game. Wasn't really tested. Was involved in a mix-up with Joe Rodon, where kind of Joe Rodon played it short, where he probably should have come out for it. Couldn't do much with the goal. By the way, that mistake did lead to the corner which they scored from, which he couldn't have really done much more, but he was left flat-footed on his line. What did you make out of his performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge him because he didn't have too much to do. He should have come a bit quicker off his line a couple of occasions, but I mean, he was pretty much a passenger for most of the game, so he'll have tougher games. But yeah, it was a pretty quiet game from him most of the time, but Rodon was getting frustrated with him. Yeah,
on a number of occasions. Let's move on to Japhet Tanganga. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. Yet another mistake that led to a goal where he failed to track the man from the corner, and it just fell to the guy's foot as well. He didn't even have to challenge it in the air. So Tanganga was at fault for that goal. I mean, he looked uncomfortable in possession throughout the game, but to be honest, he did grow into the game as the game wore on, and you saw him even forage forward a few times in the game.
But it was really disappointing to see him lose his man from a set piece like that just after he made a set piece, you know, against Chelsea, a mistake there where he scored, where he contributed to an own goal. And before that, he was a bit sloppy in possession again yesterday, just like he was at Stamford Bridge. So that was concerning, but he did grow into it a bit, as you say. But again, playing Morecambe, it should be an easy game for him.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to Joe Rodon. Played in the middle of a back three on the day, and he really did not look comfortable throughout, to be honest. I'm not sure if it was due to the injury or something, but Ali Gold did say he was playing with an injury throughout the game. So maybe that's why he was looking uncomfortable. I mean, he had a couple of troublesome times with Gallini, with one of them leading to the corner that did lead to the goal that we conceded. But yeah, I wasn't too impressed with Joe Rodon on the day, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of always seemed like whenever the ball was going near him, he seemed worried. There was some tension there whenever the ball was going over the top, and you know, he should be commanding in those situations. That he did. He was quite comfortable once he got the ball in his chest. He was able to get it down, but he wasn't, you know, spraying passes like Eric Dyer does in that position or anything like that. We didn't see any sort of adventure in him. He wasn't able to go forward much, like in terms of striding into midfield. He was very much stuck in his position, and you feel like he should be playing with a bit more confidence in this kind of game. And as you say, those moments with Gallini were a bit troublesome, and he was getting visibly angry and frustrated with the situation. And unfortunately, one of them led to a goal, which he definitely shouldn't have put out for a corner when I watched it back.
Let's move on to Ben Davies. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Captain for the day, Ben Davies. Nearly put us ahead early on from a Winks corner. Defended well on a whole as well, and brought the ball out pretty well from defence. I think definitely our strongest defender on the night.
Yeah, I think he played pretty well, and he was pretty composed. He was definitely the one in the back three which had everyone settled down a bit, and he was able to bring the ball forward a bit more into the midfield and bring an extra player there. And he carries on his good form, I feel, Ben Davies.
Yeah. Moving over to Ryan SESSEGNON. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Played left wing back in the first half, right wing back in the second half as Conte moved to an inverted wing back system in the second half. I mean, he was full of running, full of desire, full of effort. Some really nice runs showing his pace, beating a couple of defenders in his wake. But I felt like every time he was getting in good positions, and that happened quite often, he was let down by his end product.
Yeah, I mean, his end product wasn't great, but he also didn't have much to aim at. You know, we had Gil and Dele, and they just weren't up to it in terms of their movement or battling or anything like that. I think he played fairly well throughout the game. I think he was confident using his pace to beat players and get to the byline. I think even when he moved over to the right in the second half, he was still looking pretty sharp, and he was still attacking with pace. The only problem was when he used his right foot. That was definitely a weak point in his game for sure. But definitely back from injury, and I'm happy that he's still looking quite confident.
Let's move over to Harry Winks, 7s all round, and for me, best Spurs player on the day. Kept the ball ticking over in midfield, was on set piece duty and supplying good corners, some really good corners actually. Got his goal from a set piece as well, which he says he meant. I'm not too sure if he did or not, but credit to him if he did. We had some dangerous moments from his corners as well. There was one where he did it to the front post and Dele Alli flicked it on. There was another one where Davies could have scored from, but most of our good work coming through him, and yeah, he's in good form at the moment.
Yeah, and a few times he's loving these little chip passes over the top over the defence, looking for runs in behind, and he's starting to add that to his game. A couple of times he found Dele, who wasn't able to fully exploit the situation, and he was having a few more shots on goal as well. He had one just outside the box which just flew over the bar, and it was a nice rasping effort, and he's definitely starting to have a bit more authority, and it's good for him. I'm happy that in this kind of game, you know, he's just taking it by the scruff of the neck and trying to be the player who's the most positive on the pitch, which was very, very good. And it also did pickings, but I agree, I think he was probably our best player.
Yeah, and I felt like a lot of the good work he was doing was wasted because of the lack of movement in front of him, to be honest.
Agreed.
So let's move on to Giovanni Lo Celso, 6s all round from us. I mean, wasteful early on with a couple of pop shots that really just rolled into the keeper's arms. He did grow in influence as the game wore on. He got an assist for his troubles as well for Harry Kane's goal. Also forced a really good save from the keeper in the second half, which was a much better effort than what he was doing in the first half. There were a few flashes of creative play from Gio. I mean, he was created our most chance on the day with 6 chances created, but I think he did look rusty on a whole.
Yeah, it still was his first start since he's come back from injury.
For a while, yeah.
So his first start, yeah, probably since October, maybe, I think I read. So it's understandable he's a bit rusty, but I thought he was okay as the game went on, especially once we got the big hitters, Lucas and KANE on. He really started to look more lively, and maybe that goes to show these better players around him, but I thought on the day he was okay. He was obviously we expect better, but I thought he was decent. He was a threat going forward. He was creative. He was, not only did he make the most chances, he also made the most tackles as well on the pitch with 4. So that shows his combative nature and willingness to put a foot in. And obviously a nice assist for Kane's goal to wrap it up. I thought it was a decent display from Gio, but hopefully I want to see more from him.
Definitely. Matt Doherty, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Started at right wing back, ended at left wing back. Like I said, as Conte moved to the inverted wing back system in the second half, they seemed to be aiming for him a lot from set pieces, and he hit the post, and he was getting his head to most things, but with little quality, to be honest. He was getting in good positions high up the pitch as well, with little quality. I mean, he was getting up and down, and we've seen him in good positions a lot in the game yesterday and last week as well, but with little quality.
Yeah, there was one moment where he cut inside on the left-hand side. He thought he's going to have a shot, and he just balloons it into Rose's edge. Like, yep, that's probably what we expect from Matt Doherty. But I did think he was causing Morecambe a few problems with his runs and his positioning, but he wasn't able to make the most of his own good movement with any sort of quality on the end of it, unfortunately for him. When he moved over to the left, again, same troubles as he's always had, where he constantly has to cut inside and slow down attacking moves. But there was a couple of moments in the second half where he was causing Morecambe some problems with a couple of decent runs, and he did hit the post, but unfortunately wasn't really able to really hurt Morecambe as much as he would have liked.
Moving over to Brian Hill, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 5. He was playing in a very much a different role up top in its front 2 with Dele Alli, and it just didn't suit him whatsoever, to be honest. A lot of effort and a desire, especially early on in the game, as he was bright and tried to make things happen, but to be honest, it was with little success. His position, like I said, didn't really suit him, and I thought his influence in the game very much diminished to little to next to nothing in the second half, and he was taken off with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, I thought it was anonymous. I thought he wasn't involved in the game, and not his fault totally, because he's not playing in a position that's his position. But I just felt like he was on the right, he was on the left. He couldn't get involved. He wasn't able to get any shots off. He wasn't able to hold players off and get a ball in the box or create any chances. It was a difficult day for Brian Hill, and I feel bad for him, because I also feel like it was a bit of a wasted game because he wasn't in his position. And what can we learn from that game? Not much. Like, obviously, you want him to do more in this kind of game, but I just feel like it was a waste of time. And you know, he needs to use these games as development, and that wasn't development. That was just like you're not playing him in his position and can't learn too much from it. But I just thought he was on the side. Yeah, I thought it wasn't good at all.
Yeah, but you know, would you have rather of that, or would you have rather have played KANE and not given him?
Yeah, I'd rather play KANE. Yeah,
really. And
in this kind of game. Oh, in that sense. Yeah. It wasn't a waste in that sense. It was a waste for Gil himself. Yeah.
The thing is, though, with Gil, I thought that he was bright early on and he was trying to make stuff happen. He was getting on the ball a few times, but there was just
he's playing up front. He needed to shoot. He needed to do something. You know, you need to. I didn't see it. Didn't seem. I know it's not his fault, but he just wasn't very good in that position.
All right, let's move on to Tanguy Ndombele. Threes all round from us. I mean, to be honest, in the early stages, he was getting on the ball a bit, trying to make stuff happen. But to be honest, it's just nowhere near good enough. And in games like this, you know, you expect Ndombele to be absolutely dominating in these kind of games. We've seen it before. We want to see it again. And he just offered little, next to nothing, pretty much. I mean, most of the time he got the ball, it was bouncing off him, poor passing. Every time he tried to take it around a man, he got tackled pretty much. He was so wasteful on the ball. But the real talking point is obviously when he went off and there was a triple substitution. Both other players, Dele Alli and Bryan Gil, sprint off and he just walks off, a laboured walk. He had to be reminded by Harry Kane and Tanganga both to hurry up, and he just ended up slowing down even more, boozering around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and rightly slow. The guy, you know, we needed a goal. We were 1-0 down at the time, and it's just disgraceful, really. Yeah, and him causing that kind of toxicity is not a good thing, for sure, because that situation was causing the fans to react like that, and he didn't have to. You know, he could have just got off as quickly as possible and, you know, made sure the sub was made so Tottenham get back in the game. Luckily we did in the end, but he's got to make, you know, he's got to know how these kind of things look and what he's doing, and you know, unfortunately it caused a lot of aggravation during the game, and you know, his performance as well was really, really poor. I thought his one-touch passing was loose, wasn't accurate, wasn't on point. There were some points, to be fair to him. He was trying to get a move going and trying to play some football. And maybe he would argue maybe he was let down by the team of players around him, but he was also himself. His passing was piss poor as the game went on, and he didn't offer anything in the final third. Wasn't able to really get on the ball in and around the penalty area and get any shots off or get any through balls or anything. And he was rightly hauled off with 20 minutes to go. Yeah. Moving on to Dele Alli, the last of the starting 11. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. I mean, I felt like he worked hard and battled hard up front, but he looked extremely uncomfortable there in the top 2 with Bryan Gil, as Bryan Gil did. And in that position, he was just highly, highly ineffective. And that's all I'm going to say. Yeah, really. I feel like if he played with, like, say he played up front with KANE, maybe he can get more joy because he has someone to play off. But if he's going to be the main man in the 2, it ain't going to work. And it showed again yesterday. He doesn't have the physicality to be the man to hold a player off and hold the ball up and bring other players into play like KANE can do. He's also not the man to have that those real instincts that KANE has of where to run to and stuff like that. If he's the focus, then obviously we're all going to be in trouble. And unfortunately, him and Gil couldn't combine at all for any sort of moves. He wasn't able to get any sort. The only chances he had were from set pieces when he nearly scored for the near post, and that was it really for Dele. It was a disappointing display from him, but again, not entirely his fault. All right, let's move on to the substitutes. Lucas Moura, 8s all round, came on with 20 minutes to go. Sent a lovely ball into KANE, where KANE really should have done better from with the free header. He completely changed the game with his absolute direct running, causing Morecambe endless amounts of problems. And he got his reward for it, where robbing the Morecambe defender on around about the halfway line, storms down the end of the pitch, takes it round the keeper, puts the ball in the back of the net, and probably could have had more goals as well, Lucas Moura. So really good display and completely changed the game.
Yeah, it was the quality that we needed, that little bit of pace, injection of pace that we were missing throughout the whole game, which Lucas had with the tiring legs as well, probably helped him. You know, Morecambe worked very, very hard for those 80 minutes, and you could see it in their legs that they were getting very tired, and Lucas for sure exploited that. After he scored, he went on a great run, didn't he? Went past 2-3 players and had a shot on the edge of the box that went flying over, and he was a complete nuisance as soon as he came on. And we know in these kind of games, Lucas could very likely can make the difference, and he definitely did when he came on.
Yeah. Harry Kane, Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Centre free header just wide, the one I was talking about where Lucas Moura put it in for him. I mean, look, maybe we were starting to think it wasn't our day just as Kane came on and he missed that chance, but ultimately it was his world-class effort and Lucas Moura's world-class effort that really got us over the line here, and that shouldn't be happening against a team like this, against a team like Morecambe. His goal, really nice finish, turn and finish for Harry Kane, and yeah, he just impacted the game really well.
Yeah, and I think he was actually also really good. He also made a very big difference when he came on. It wasn't what we didn't have with speed with Lucas as well, we didn't have in physicality with Kane, and he gave us that physical edge. He was able, all of a sudden, we were able to hold off players in the final third and actually keep momentum with attacks. It was so easy before for when players we get balls into feet into the forward players in the first 70 minutes for players to be bullied and shoved off and easy to defend against. All of a sudden Kane makes it stick. He all of a sudden, and it perfectly encapsulated with his goal. He holds off the defender, gets the shot off, and when we score, we didn't do that once for the whole 70 minutes. He wasn't on the pitch, and yet he does it within a few minutes when he comes on. He made a lot of big difference, just as Lucas did, and obviously, yeah, he missed that chance, but I thought he also another great cameo from Kane.
Yeah, and the last sub we're going to talk about is Ollie Skip, who also came on with 20 minutes to go. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. He added the bite and the energy into midfield that we really needed at the time and helped rally the team to win the game late on.
Yeah, and just made sure we kept winning the ball back as quickly as possible when we were going forward, and definitely helped in that part because we didn't really have a ball winner when he was not on the pitch. We had Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, and obviously Lo Celso made some tackles, but he's not classified as a ball winner, and Winks and Ndombele aren't the best in defensively, so Skip came on, just made sure whenever we lost the ball or whenever a chance went missing, we just got the ball back as quickly as possible, sustained the attack, and paid off.
In terms of Antonio Conte, 6s all round from us. I mean, in terms of team selection and system, I mean, he couldn't really have done anything else. Kane needed a rest, and those are the only 2 players that really could have played up there. Look, yeah. I'm not going to mark him too down on yesterday. It's more down to the players, and he made the changes to win the game. I mean, what can you say really about Conte yesterday?
Yeah, look, we have big games coming up. Chelsea in the second leg, Arsenal, Chelsea again, Leicester. Massive games that we need our forward players fit for. And if Kane started this game and got injured, it would be curtains for those games pretty much, seeing as Son's already injured. So I think he definitely did the right thing in protecting those players. 100% he did the right thing. However, you know, although we played without a striker, I'm not saying like we should be like Pep's Man City, but they don't play without a striker. They don't have a problem creating chances, and we obviously he needs to still need time with this team. But we had Ndombele, we had Lo Celso, we had Winks on the pitch. We should be able to have patterns of play with those kind of players to open up a team like Morecambe through the centre.
That's down to Conte though.
Of course, I mean, for sure he has a role to play. I'm not saying, you know, it's early on, but these players, I'm sure if Guardiola was in charge yesterday, you know, we open up Morecambe a lot more through the centre. The problem with yesterday was it was way too easy for Morecambe to clog up that centre and force us out wide where we had a lack of quality, and that's why we had a lack of chances. And it's been a theme now for the past 4 games. We haven't been able to go through the centre whatsoever. And with the players we have, I'm not saying we should be Pep's Man City, but we definitely should be at least 1 or 2 or at least 2 or 3 times a game be able to create something through the centre, and we weren't able to do that. Even if Delhi was in a false 9, we should be able to find a couple of times at least where he's free and where we open up opportunities where we're creating chances, and we weren't able to do that. And that's something Conte has to work on. But in terms of selection and stuff like that, I don't really have any complaints.
Yeah. Okay. That is our player ratings. Let me know your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.